YouTube, what is going on? Welcome to the video. Hope you're doing super well. In this video, we're going to cover how to properly warm up before your workouts, okay? And so honestly, I don't want this to be a super long video because your warm-ups should not be super long. And so I want to cover, there's basically 4 parts I'm going to cover here. So stretching, foam rolling, activation, which is by far the most important part. If you skip around this video, which you shouldn't, but if you do, please just make sure you watch the activation part for sure. Please watch that. And number 4 is gonna be core work, ab work, all right? So I'm gonna go over each one of these, but also I'm actually going to wipe this board clean and give you a sample warm-up example of an upper body day and a lower body day. So I'm gonna give you not only what exercises, but I'm gonna show you what those exercises are in this video. So without further ado, number 1, we're gonna talk about stretching. And so some people are gonna tell you, you shouldn't be stretching. And then some people are going to tell you, oh no, you got to stretch for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Here's the deal. People tell you not to stretch because there is some research that stretching before your workout can lead to decreased strength performance. Here's the thing. The decrease is maybe like 1, 2, 3% max. So unless you're like an elite level powerlifter going for your 1 rep max, like you might pull 410 instead of 405 on your deadlift because you did not stretch. But unless you're doing that, stretching is pretty good for the general population, right? On the flip side of that, you shouldn't be spending more than, I'd say, 2 minutes on stretching. Honestly, I wouldn't spend more than 2 to 5 minutes max, and 5 minutes is like the upper end range. More than 2 to 5 minutes max on stretching because it's just not that big of a deal. And there's going to be other parts of this warm up that are going to be more important to you. So stretching, if you're a general population, you can do it. You know, you can stretch your hips, you can stretch your knees, you can stretch your shoulders, you can stretch things like. But I wouldn't put too much emphasis on it because it's just not going to play that big of a role, right? I see some people, stretching for 20 minutes before their workouts, and like that's just not necessary. Like I don't know how you have time to do that. It's not necessary. And so I want to make this as streamlined as possible and not have you warming up for 40 minutes because your workouts should take 40 minutes, not the warm up, right? So number 1, stretching. Number 2, foam rolling. I'll be very honest with you. I'm not the biggest foam rolling fan. Now again, can you do it and can it be beneficial? Yeah. For example, when you foam roll, the biggest thing is it sends your central nervous system a signal saying, hey, let's kind of wake this muscle group up. So for example, if you're foam rolling your glutes, it's basically going to say, hey, your glutes need to be warmed up. Like they're going to get some not contractions to them, but your brain is basically going to say, hey, those things should be they're getting ready to fire, right? Now again, can you do them? Sure. If you want to do foam rolling, awesome. Go ahead and do it. Again, I wouldn't spend more than 2 to 5 minutes max, and honestly, I wouldn't even spend 5 minutes. I would say I wouldn't spend more than 2 minutes foam rolling. I really wouldn't. It's just not that big of a deal. I would spend 30 to 120 seconds foam rolling, whether it's your glutes, whether it's your calves, whether it's your shoulders or your pecs or whatever it is. 30 to 120 seconds max. Spend your time foam rolling, do it, and be done. Like I see some people spending 10, 15, 30 minutes foam rolling. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, it's just not that big of a deal. So these 2 things right here, I'm going to put them in the warm-up. I'm going to show you what I mean, but you don't need to spend much time on these 2 things right here. Both these things should take you 2 to 5 minutes max. So that's what I'd say for those guys. For the activation, this is the most important. And basically what the activation is you're taking your muscles through a full range of motion and getting them contracting, getting them firing before you go into your workout. And we're going to cover a bit more of these when I show you what I mean with the exercises and I'll show you how to do them. But this is by far the most important part of your warm-up. If you're not doing some activation work beforehand, gonna be a bad time. And not only gonna be a bad time, but you're gonna decrease your workout performance. You're going to decrease your strength. You're going to decrease your force output. You're going to increase your risk of injury. So activation is by far the most important factor of it. And again, I'll show you what I mean more. And finally, some core work. And now again, this is for a few reasons. Number 1, your core is the main powerhouse of your entire body. So I like to just kind of like, once again, the buzzword is activate, which really just means like, kind of turn those muscles on it and get them working kind of and get them working in a fashion where you're going to be able to then go into your workouts and use them. And again, we'll talk about this more when I go over the workouts, but I like to have some core work in the warm-ups just because, number 1, it's the powerhouse of your body, and if the powerhouse of your body is working good, you're probably going to have a good workout. And number 2, it's an easy way to sneak in some extra core work because, I don't think you should be doing a ton of core work. I mean, I don't like doing core work personally, so it's a good way to sneak in some extra core work. So those are the 4 aspects of the warm-up. Now I'm gonna wipe this board clean and I'm gonna put on my, I'm gonna show you how to do the exercises. I'm gonna show you the reps and the sets and how to perform them and so on and so forth, all right? So let's do that right now. All right, so let's first touch on upper body. So as you can see here, I wrote down some exercises and I wrote down the sets and the reps, okay? So the first exercise is gonna be a half kneeling T-spine rotation for 2 sets of 5 each side. And again, I'm gonna show you what each one of these exercises are so you can actually do them. Second one is gonna be a band pull apart for 2 sets of 12. And the third one's gonna be a reverse crunch for 2 sets of 10. And now again, how you would do these is you would do 1 set, 1 set, 1 set, rest, 1 set, 1 set, 1 set, be done. Because again, this should not take you more than 5 minutes really. I mean, this is a pretty condensed warm-up. It's a very effective warm-up, but it shouldn't be taking you that long a time. So this right here is gonna be your stretching. This right here is gonna be your activation. And this right here is gonna be your core work. You notice I did not put foam rolling in here because again, I don't foam roll and I don't have many of my clients foam roll. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. If you want to do it, please feel free to go ahead. Again, I wouldn't spend more than 2 minutes on it, but if you want to foam roll, you can put that in here as well. So I'm going to show you what each one of these exercises are. All right, so for the half kneeling T-spine rotation, what you're going to want to do is get in a half kneeling position. So 1 leg down, 1 leg up. This is very simple. Get your shoulders away from your ears because your arm's out in front of you. And then from here, all you're gonna do is just try to move this hand and try to twist your upper body without moving your hips. So you don't want your hips to move when you're doing this. You wanna squeeze your butt and make sure your hips stay facing forward towards the wall in front of you. So you're gonna just kind of move out to the side as much as you can without moving your hips. You'll feel your mid to upper back up here. You'll feel this kind of get stretching and feel some contractions there, get stretch, come right back in, right back out, right back in. So again, so 5 on each side. So you do 5 on this hand, and you'll switch it over. You do 5 on this hand, okay? And again, just try to get as far as you can without letting your hips rotate, without letting your hips move, and that will be the first exercise, okay? The second exercise is band pull apart. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get a band. From here, you're gonna get your hands about shoulder width, keep your shoulders away from your ears, shrug down away from your ears, and you're simply going to start with your arms extended. Try to keep your arms straight the entire time, and you're just gonna pull this band apart to where your sternum is. So see, I'm not pulling it up here, pulling it to right where my sternum is, and then right back out. Pulling it here, really trying to think about squeezing your shoulder blades together, trying to think about pinching a pencil between your shoulder blades, and then letting your arms come out in front of you on the way out. So you're squeezing, coming out, squeezing, coming out. Again, that's 2 sets of 12 reps for that exercise. All right, so the last exercise here is reverse crunches. So what you're gonna do is just lay on your back. For this, you can just get your hands underneath yourself for this, for this movement here. And all you're gonna do is try to think about bringing your knees to your chest, okay? You're gonna lift your hips off the ground if you can, okay? So you're gonna try to go reverse crunch, 1, 2. If you can't lift your hips off the ground, that's okay. Just get as much as you can, and then right back down. Get as much as you can, right back down. And again, it's just kind of activating and just kind of like warming up your core muscles. All right, so that was upper body. And again, one of the biggest things for upper body is you're trying to warm up your upper back because your upper back is the main primary thing you want firing, whether you're doing a push-up, whether you're doing a bench press, whether you're doing a overhead press, whether you're doing a row. Your upper back and your scapula controls a lot of your upper body movements. So that's why we put a big emphasis on your upper back, okay? So that's upper body. Now lower body, we're gonna do a 1A is hip 90-90s. That will be our stretching portion. 1B is gonna be our glute bridge, which is our activation portion. And then 1C is gonna be our plank variation, which is our core work. And I didn't have it written down, but 2 sets of 5 for the hip 90-90s, 2 sets of 10 for the glute bridge, and then 2 sets of 20 for the plank. And once again, you would do 1 set of the hip 90-90s, 1 set of glute bridge, 1 set of plank, rest, 1 set of hip 90-90, 1 set of glute bridge, 1 set of plank, and you'd be done, okay? Again, this should take you 5 to 7 minutes max. So let's start with hip 90-90s. And so what you're gonna wanna do is get into a 90-90 position, which this just means your ankle, front ankle should be in line with your back knee. This is a 90-90 position. Hope you can kind of see it here. And what you're gonna do is just, If you want to stretch like your front glute, for example, you're going to try to lean forward, keep your chest up, and this will be stretching the front leg glute. If you want to stretch more of this back hip, what you would do is just come up and you would stretch more of this hip right here. So you can bias what you want to stretch, right? Then from here, the hip 90-90, you would just switch into this right here, okay? So again, you just do the same thing on this side. You would stretch this front glute, you would stretch this back hip, you would stretch this front glute, stretch this back hip, and then just switch over one more time, and you would do this 5 times on each side. You just do it nice and slow, just try to get some stretching, kind of feel around, you know. If you feel, for example, this hip is really tight, cool, spend some more time here. If you feel this glute's really tight, spend some more time there. But I wouldn't spend too much time, but just go back and forth, get some movement in your hips, and you'll be good to go, all right? And now, second part is the activation, which is the glute bridge. And this is it's a great movement in general, but a great activation exercise because, again, your glutes control almost your entire lower body, right? So that is like the main driver of your lower body. So all you're gonna do is just get your feet to about lining up like this, so don't have it too far out here. Get your feet, ankles right underneath your knees. And then from here, you're going to wanna lift your hips up by pushing through your heels. Do not have most of your weight on your toes or your front foot. Push through your heels, lift your hips, and try to squeeze your butt as hard as you can at the top. Think somebody's trying to stick their finger up your butt, and you're like, no, 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 my friend, not gonna go do that. Or you're trying to pinch a coin between your butt cheeks, and that will really get your glutes right here firing, and that's what you want activating. People talk about glute activation. That's why. You want your glutes firing, so when you go into your movements, you want to take them through the range of motion and get them working, so when you go and do squats or deadlifts or anything like that, they're going to be working properly, right? So that's number 2 is glute bridge. Number 3 for core work, you're just doing a plank. And I say just doing a plank, but planks are very hard, honestly. So again, I like to do them on my hands just because I like to have the total body movement here. But just get into a plank. Make sure you're not sagging your back. Make sure you're not overarching like this. Get your elbows in line with your wrist and kind of like turn your elbow pits to face the wall in front of you. And then from here, try to think about bringing your ribs to your belly button. Don't overarch, but think about bringing your ribs to your belly button, and again, just holding a plank. So squeezing your butt, squeezing your legs, squeezing your abs. Take some deep breaths, and exhale, and try to keep your core tight. Hold that for a set of 20 seconds, right? And that is the lower body warm-up. And again, the main thing for lower body is you definitely want to get some. I chose a plank because I think one of the biggest things with lower body is the function of your core is to keep yourself stable, is to keep yourself from, overarching, underarching, overarching, those kind of things. So if you can do a plank, a side plank, a Pallof press, something to keep your body from resisting movement can be very, very beneficial for you, right? So guys, that was honestly the whole video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something from it. If you have any questions, concerns, drop them below. I will say one last thing is, remember, your warm-ups are not just for your physical body. Yes, of course, you want to warm your muscles up, you want to warm your body up so you can feel good, be strong, all those things. But it's also a mental warm-up as well. You want to mentally prepare yourself to go into your workout. Like when you do your workouts, you should be trying to push yourself. You shouldn't be, try to get off the email, try to get off Instagram, try to get off YouTube, try to get off your phone. Like, try to get off those things. Obviously, unless you're maybe watching this video before you warm up. But try to get off those things because that's a time where, that's your time. Own that time. Cherish that time. Like, protect that time. Like, excuse my language, but fuck everybody else. Protect that time. That's your time. Mentally get yourself ready to go crush your workout. And if you do that with your body and your mind, you'll have a pretty kick-ass workout, all right? So any questions, guys, drop below. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk soon.